We live in a fast-paced world where many people are too busy to sit down and read books or news articles. But thanks to Newsly, you can now listen to the news you wish you had the time to read. By utilizing AI technology, a natural human voice reads you the news, helping you grasp the information faster and more efficiently. Newsly provides the latest news updates 24/7, letting you browse articles from topics you choose. It even has podcasts, including ours. And listeners of Rabbit Holes can get their first 30 days of premium for free, allowing you to enjoy an ad-free experience by using the special promo code in our episode description. So download Newsly today for free on iOS and Android, or visit www.newsly.me so you can stay updated on the things that matter to you.
Moving forward.
Aloha kako, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Rabbit Holes. Another lovely week upon us, everyone. We've got Sarah, as always, here with me, and our special guest today, Brad Starks. All right, guys, we're going to get things moving along here quick because we got so much to talk about today. So, first of all, we got a couple community announcements. Maui on Stage has got the Wizard of Oz, the deleted scene, opening May 14th at the historic Iao Theater. All right, more details to come, and learn how to buy tickets by visiting MauiOnStage.com. That's MauiOnStage.com. Plus, we've got an announcement from the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, Employment Opportunities. The Office of Hawaiian Affairs is undergoing a reorganization that prioritizes our beneficiaries, their needs, and the communities we serve. This includes a restructuring of staff and services. OHA is currently recruiting executive leaders, managers, and other professional staff to serve the Lahui. Great opportunity for employment. Sure, some good benefits with that too, guys. So go ahead and check them out at oha.org/jobs. Get one job, bro. All right, guys, so lots of news and crazy stuff going on in the world today. So I'm going to kick things off, and we're going to talk about a local thing here, and then we're going to dive into the crazy of the rest of the world. Big announcement, the Waikapu housing plan on Maui is bound to move faster. I guess there's a good partnership going on between the county and Atherton, and it looks like they're going to rearrange some things to make some better space, and they said that they could have it going within 3 years. I mean, this stands to benefit the community because of the school that comes with it, but, there's a little bit of apprehension from, those that don't get heard, there's a lot of support for this. There's positivity on all sides. It's probably the most coming together that, the community's had on housing as of late, but we're always a little shy as to the possibility of progress because, there's this constant exchange of like, hey, we build one multi-million-dollar home and we swear we're going to build, local homes for people that are affordable. And then sometimes it just takes forever for that to deliver. So I'm really just hoping that, it does deliver, and we're not staring at some long wait list like every other type of housing problem that Hawaiian people face. So I think it's just a matter of we'll see. I'd like to stay positive about it. I'd really like to. It doesn't always work out the best for our people, but there's a lot of positivity working for the community on this one, and fingers crossed. I mean, I really think that it stands a chance, but at the same time, like we got to make sure that it's going to be right. We got to make sure that everybody's being looked out for in this. And I think time will tell, and we'll see. But ultimately, I think it's going to be a jump in the right direction for the community. We all wish it could happen sooner, but we'll see. All right, so moving along in the news onto the world stage, I guess Russian influencers are having a hard time getting on social media. They've had their toys taken away, so they can't commit their crazy acts of espionage on the American public anymore.
And they took away the porn, right, Brad? Didn't you post that a couple days ago that they also took their porn?
I did. There was, obviously, McDonald's was sort of like leaving. I mean, you had like all of these sort of like companies and stuff like that. And there was a rumor that I bought hook, line, and sinker because it came with a screenshot written in Russian from the Pornhub sort of like, thing. And it was just like, it was like a Russian announcement of some kind. And, the person who posted it said, oh yeah, they pulled the plug. There's no more porn for them. So, sorry, Russian military. You're going to have to read books.
And no porn.
Botox, no nothing. But no, as it turned out, that was just a rumor. Pornhub, I think, is still operating over there.
Yeah, Pornhub doesn't care. They want their money. But, hey, you got to understand that the sex worker market is huge in the East. But here's the thing: is like the Russians have been invading American pop culture for years, posing as American porn.
Absolutely. Just ask Donald Trump. He knows.
Was that
so many other levels?
Yeah. Which wife, please? Which wife? Oh my God. No. Yeah. No. Terrible jokes about Trump's. Well, women's taste in Trump and Trump's taste in women. All right, those kind of go hand in hand. But speaking of dumpster fires, Truth Social is up and operating. Semi-operating. It's Donald Trump's replacement for Twitter. It's called Truth.
Truth Social.
Yeah,
huh?
it did. I signed up for announcements on when it was going to launch because I wanted to see how bad the launch could be, because there was never any promises of this being any good, because the first thing that they touted was, this is going to be free speech, everyone, free speech, hallelujah. And then you get there.
Kicked off of Twitter or something?
Well, yeah, he got deplatformed before the end of his presidency. Yeah, for being a terrible.
I don't know shit when it comes to politics. He got kicked off of Twitter, so he's like, I'm making my own Twitter.
I'm kind of glad that you said that you didn't realize that. That tells me like how much like people are good at ignoring the news. But yeah, so they deplatformed Trump, and so then he was like, I'm gonna go make my own Twitter with blackjack and hookers, and well, maybe without the blackjack or the Twitter. And so Truth Social was made, and they announced that they were gonna launch in February. They started signups for beta access in like late January, as an investigative foray into the weird. I will not tell anybody what my screen name is on it, because I will say right now I'm catfishing on there. I am not posing as me, because someone of my skin color on that app with my points of view, I would be the first digital hanging on that app. So I'm pretending to be some, Aryan race white kid. I don't post anything terrible. I'm not participating in any of the dumpster fire.
At this point.
I'm just watching. And so here's the thing. I got onto the app, but I had to wait 3 weeks to get on. So once they let me sign up, and then they gave me a number, and they were like, you're 833,393. And I was like, what? And so then they're like, yeah, we'll send you a push notification. It's like waiting for your table at Zippy's to be ready.
Do you think they're doing that on purpose? It's like, oh, it's like this new cool.
Nope, it is not. It is not. It is not. Yeah, do not. Yeah, no. So there's no like, this is a cool club, you have to wait to get in type of thing. It's the server load, can't take this many people. Also, it just like, it was developed by morons. So it has no real capabilities outside of just being it's a clone of Twitter. That's all it really is. It's a clone of Twitter with less IT support. And then it turns out that even though they said they were going to focus on free speech, they got robots to do the moderation. And there's rumors going around that those robots are pretty cheap robots. So the profanity filter on it is like Facebook's circa 2002, like not 2002. I'm sorry. So like 2010. So like when they really like, they're trying to like run that filter, but then like even when you set it on low, everything gets cut in your feed. So you're better off just leaving your profanity filter off than but that's all internally in the system.
Mm-hmm.
Unreal. I mean, when the figurehead that the social media, platform is named after is not posting himself, I mean, it's pretty on brand. I mean, it's just sort of another way in which folk who, don't mind eating runny brown excrement, which is not chocolate that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth 24/7. Republicans just sort of come in behind and put it into an ice cream cone and call it, ice cream. I'm surprised that they were even able to somewhat handle sort of like the explosion in their face of like that first week, because it was bad, right?
But see, I don't think that there's actually like 1 million people on there, because I do my social media deep dive shit, and I went looking at it, and it's like there are hundreds, if not thousands, of blank bot profiles on there, because people are already trying to buy in, because there's no security. It has no security. So like, there's like, speaking of Pornhub, there's like 100 fake Pornhub accounts. They haven't posted anything because it looks like there might be I don't know if there's an anti-porn filter on it yet, because I've already seen some very questionable like tub girl level things on the internet. Like, for those of you out there who know what a blue waffle is, yeah, that's the least of your problems on Truth Social. So Sarah, don't look it up, Sarah. You don't want to know. I saw you pick up that phone. Stay pure, Sarah. No. You know what? I gotta tell you, that's some like college level internet shit right there. But the only reason why I'm saying it on air is because you know what? Recently, there was a STEM education team that actually called themselves the Blue Waffles, and then they won. And then they got like a tech grant for their school or something. And it was funny because like they're like these Zennial kids. But anyways, back to...
And nobody probably knew, because they were like me, like, blue waffle, that's cute.
Yeah, don't. Auntie, if you're listening, don't look it up. I swear, it's not worth it. That's my PSA for the day.
My mom is like right now, and I like, oh my God.
No, it's not even oh my gosh. It's like
no.
I might have to beep over that noise. I don't know. Does anybody want to hear the ASMR of me making throw up noises? If that convinces you enough not to look it up, okay? All right. This was before 2 Girls, 1 Cup. All right. You gotta know.
Oh no!
This was
and
scary.
that was just
yeah.
Oh.
And I never watched that video. I watched the Kermit the Frog reacts to that video, and that was enough for me.
I saw that and it scarred me for life. So now I know if it's that bad or worse than that, then I don't need to see it. I never need to Google that.
But yeah, never mind. So think of all the crazy that you could see on like a dumpster fire app that is owned by Trump. That is not like I've seen weird so far. I've seen like hentai furry weird stuff. But then the crazier part is where it comes from, because it's from there's this self-hating Well, they say they are. For all I know, it's a catfish account because half of them are. Like, the only person that's verified a real person on there is Donald Trump and Kyle Rittenhouse, who's now like the influencer of fucking Gilead, creating, memes of himself crying. He's recording brand new memes of him crying like he did in court.
Oh my god.
That's what he's doing on there. Yeah, he's literally giving America the middle finger. He seriously, that right there tells me he shot those people in cold blood.
He's gloating. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's what he is. Yeah, he made a meme of himself holding up a gas pump gun while crying exactly like he did in court when he was trying to get off the hook. And then it's a meme about Biden.
So messed up
Yeah.
that,
That's worse than Kanye. I'm going to let Kanye slide on artistic integrity there alone. Kyle Rittenhouse is a piece of shit, though.
Can we talk about Kanye, though, too, and what he has been up to lately? Oh, my God.
And I keep promising myself that we'll try to keep it PG-13 around here, but then words like Kyle Rittenhouse come out of my mouth, and I have to follow it with expletives. I cannot help it. He was terrible. So so he's the star of Truth Social because like half of everybody's accounts doesn't work. Like the account that I'm sitting on there. Oh, and then the other crazy part is everybody follow for follows. So unless you're an influencer who's smart enough to not follow anybody back, save for like your friends, everybody, it's like the first day of a brand new college. Everybody's like, hey, want to join my club? And so then everybody is in everybody's feed, and that's breaking their algorithm if they even have one. So that's, I'd say keep a lookout on it. Is it worth it to go in and get, download the app? I mean, if you want to have more reasons to be disappointed in America, I guess. But like, if you don't believe me, go check it out. I fully suggest it. Go check it out.
What do you think? You think it's going to get big? You think it's going to be like the new
Twitter? I do not, because functionally it can't do it. Tech-wise, it's not powerful enough. And look at what happened to all the other like crazy alt-right apps that they've been creating. Like they keep falling. So like the only thing that's really held is Telegram, and that's like now home to freaking QAnon numerology. And speaking of QAnon numerology, new front woman in the force of the out there she's going with the all. She's the one who's gone with the all. Tulsi Gabbard is now spouting Ukraine conspiracies and this is someone with a security clearance, folks, and now she's just jaunting around town like tinfoil hat throwing cats at everybody and just be like, no,
Tulsi, don't throw the cats. So what is she saying?
So Brad, have you been following Tulsi's turn to the dark side at all?
Yeah. I mean, since, the last appearance she had on Meet the Press, I think it was like about 2 weeks ago.
Right before CPAC,
Yeah, she's gone berserk. She's calling for Mitt Romney to resign for Senate after he called her out for her treasonous lies that she was sharing, sort of like on that on that program that afternoon or that morning, that Sunday morning. And I mean, Tulsi Gabbard, man, she I'll tell you, I mean, like initially when I sort of like started to read her backstory, it was like 5 years ago. I thought she was cool, and I was excited to see somebody, who's in, D.C. out there, representing, the folk out here. But man, I mean, then you start to read some of the backstory and some of the things she said about, that she said on camera about LGBTQ people. I mean, it's just
she's pandering.
I didn't know what she said. What she
said?
Say?
Seriously? Go ahead, tell her, Brad.
Yeah.
Tell me.
Well, I mean, and her father, I think, has a whole lot to kind of do with a lot of the stances that she's taken on some of these things. But
absolutely,
I mean, most recently, she and Tucker Carlson and 3 other top Republicans, they're literally taking video clips and, Russian news is using them for all of like the propaganda stuff.
Yep.
I mean, it's gotten to that point. I mean, I remember the day like when, Republicans, were against the Red Scourge and commies and kind of like all this thing. And by God, I mean, it is completely a different story. I mean, if you're not backing Putin and you're not giving a 25 or 30-minute dissertation at a white nationalist event, you're not even going to be in the running, for any of the upcoming elections. I mean, it's just sad. It's just really, really sad.
Well, I think it's destroying the center. I mean, we now have it's crazy to think that Mitt Romney's the center and he's the voice of reason.
Exactly.
And he's being tagged.
Exactly.
What crazy alternate 1985 tangent have we gone on here, Doc? I mean,
yeah, you got to get in that DeLorean.
Biff Tannen's in the White House, man.
There.
No, and then the crazy part is, so then you have things like you have a turncoat Democrat, you've got a crazy new social media platform. Kyle Rittenhouse has gotten out of, he just got his 2 get out of jail free cards there, and he's about to go. He's passing go, collecting $200, and he's about to instantly land on Park Place and Boardwalk and buy out everything. Like, I really think, mark my words right now, you know what? I could probably make predictions that will come true, unlike QAnon. Maybe that's what I should have. I should create a Nostradamus-like segment where we can make fun of everything dumb that QAnon said that has not come to fruition, and everything that I've learned from progressive psychological models and marketing. I could guess what's happened and probably have a higher rate of accuracy than some guy on 8chan or whatever he's on these days.
Make it subscription only so you can make some money off of it.
I know. Oh, well, you know what? The crazy part is there's like 5 people who tried to pose as Q on like the first day of Truth Social, and everybody's like, nah, he's not going to be here. But, yeah. So, the crazy hits just continue, though. So I guess we've got a COVID surge in China right now. And I know some of you out there like, oh, I thought it was over. And it's like, guys, they kind of announced like 8 months ago that it was endemic. And so I don't know if you understand that pandemic is a current state of emergency. Endemic means it's here to stay. So we're now going to have COVID seasons just like we have flu seasons. All right. And so then we have a huge problem on coverage in COVID right now because people are burnt out on it. So because the media is not covering it enough, we will cover it, even though half the audience is totally done with it. But it needs to be covered because it's important, because it's World Health News. So whether you're anti-vax or not, the facts are clear. It's making around again. It's endemic. We're now in one of the first big outbreaks of the year. Now that it's like now, just like the flu. How many seasons of the flu are you used to now? This is now just to add to the list, and it is going to pick at mankind until we learn our lesson. So you can wear your crazy tinfoil hat and scream from the mountaintops. I guess they're saying now there's a bunch of anti-vaxxers that are saying that there are tiny microblades inside of the vaccine, and that's what kills you. Is that they're giving you they're putting shrapnel in our bodies, and it's like, guys, no. So guys, there's nothing wrong with vaccine. I've had both boosters, and then the third extra one, and that was just more so the fact that I've got a kid in my life right around the corner from me, so it's just like, it's, like you do, and then you got to interact with society. These were made for a very specific reason. Look at how well it eradicated polio. Look what it's done to measles, mumps, and rubella. All right. The only reason that it's endemic instead of caught is because our vaccination rate wasn't high enough. Mutation occurred because vaccination rate wasn't high enough. This whole modern conspiracy of how, like, everybody thinks they got a biology degree. I'm going to be the first to say that I do not, but I will tell you this, that I did spend enough time in high school, junior college, and in college, and in enough conservation programs to tell you what these things can do. So it's funny to think that something is tried and true as vaccinations are under fire because reality is under fire. I mean, it goes back to Truth Social. It goes back to our Russian Instagrammers. I mean, it even goes to Tulsi. It's kind of our our hidden theme of this segment is disinformation everywhere, and we're still in it, and it's going to be pretty bad. And speaking of disinformation, I would love some thoughts about this next subject from Brad. So the world's finally talking about what's inside of Hunter Biden's laptop. Okay, it was discussed some time ago that Hunter Biden's laptop was found. It had some compromising material on it, but that's only what the news extrapolated. And then the far right turned around and treated it like that there was a cover-up. And so what's really funny about the extreme right is that when you start investigating something and you don't have an immediate answer, they claim cover-up, whereas like it's how many years past due on Trump's taxes?
Thank you.
It's how many years past due on Trump's taxes, and he hasn't been properly investigated for shit on any of that. And he threw America's economy under the bus, and we're still feeling it. And now all of the morons out there think that this is all the side effect of, you know, Biden's COVID regime and his crazy fucking, you know, secret with Ukraine or whatever. Like, all this QAnon nonsense is pissing me off. People need to start paying attention. People need to just show up. There's a lot just going on in the public view that you don't even need, like, television news to tell you half the time. Just show up and locally engage, and you can hear about things from your doctors and your politicians firsthand, you know? So, but anyways, Hunter Biden's laptop, they finally went through it, and guess what they found in it, guys?
What did they find?
He pays his taxes. Well, he pays his taxes late, but he pays his taxes. That's it.
Perfect.
That's it. And they're taking this nothing as a something. So I read what was made available to the public. New York Times covered it, and then the funny part is like all over Truth Social and far right Twitter, they're all like, "Oh, the New York Times article is gonna blast Biden away because it proves that Hunter Biden's been hiding blah 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 blah." And then you read the emails, and they're all within the confines of standard political jargon. He made no promissory notice of his power connection with his father. He would occasionally refer to his father with a special moniker as "my guy," so that way he's not always going to implicate the president-elect. But generically, looking over the word salad that he exchanged, like, those are things he could have said over a telephone and a wiretap would have never known. Those are things that, like, the way that it's said, it's standard backdoor lobbying. It's someone has access to a person of power, a person of clout, and they manage that access. So he hasn't done anything that the Republican Party hasn't done in spades.
Mm-hmm.
But except for one thing, pay his taxes.
Well, yeah, I mean, and in essence, you know, let's use that phrase that they love to use so much. In essence, it is a total nothing burger. You know, it's literally the equivalent of, you know, Al Capone's vault being opened by Geraldo Rivera. And, you know, here it is. We're inside, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, and there's not, you know, confiscated millions and millions of, you know, stockpiled money. It's actually a birthday card and a basketball photograph of him like when he was like in, you know, in junior high. Nothing. But, you know, that's unfortunately, that's kind of what the GOP and the Republican Party has become. I mean, we were having a conversation a couple of days ago. It's just like, where can you really find a true conservative now outside of Mitt Romney of all people? It's just, the world is turned upside down. It's crazy. What do you think? What do you think, Sarah?
What do I think? I don't really have anything to say on this matter.
Well, I think it's about time to call for a commercial break there. We'll be back in just a moment, guys, after these messages.
Moving forward.
When you don't vote, what you're really doing is letting somebody else take power over your own life. You wouldn't give your grandmother the power to decide what clothes you wear to the club. You wouldn't give your crazy uncle the power to post a picture to your Instagram feed. So why would you give a stranger the power to make far more important decisions in your life? Voting is the only way to ensure that your concerns matter. Period.
Moving forward.
All right, we are back from our little commercial break there. We got Mr. Brad Starks with us here today. Wow, like, I mean, it's a lot of crazy news going on in the world right now. But I think there's a lot of what we're missing on what we can fix by starting like the biggest struggle at home. And for me, as a fiscal responsible type of person, I think that there's not enough being done by business owners and corporations to do their fair share part. And we've managed to convince the working class to eat itself alive. You know, it's kind of sad, I think. I mean, we're how do you survive in an economy with pay raises and minimum wages that are behind the times? How do you move ahead when you have to work 100 hours a week at what you think is a minimum wage job, which is actually below the cost of living job, and you're never going to have space to live up to your potential. You're not going to have space for the next job. You're not going to have space to save money, because I don't think that a lot of people are doing the real equation right now. I mean, there are people that are going to come out of the woodwork and give this bootstrap conversation of, well, if you didn't have avocado toast and you weren't on the Netflix and you didn't have a silly phone, or you just, I got me a dumb phone. Well, you're a dumbass. Most of us need a real cell phone to actually have a job. You want anything better than an entry-level position and you don't have a smartphone? I'm sorry, but like all the best jobs I've ever had on set have to do with the fact that I have an expensive-ass iPhone that can scan documents and allow me to essentially be a paralegal on the fly. You can't do that with a dumb phone. So just the difference in having the dumb phone versus a real smartphone makes like $40,000 a year on your salary. So you're gonna tell people not to have the best resource that would actually get them out of work. So I think what our conversation here today really needs to like have a discussion of is like, okay, where is corporate America teaching employable America to shame, working class America to shame itself? Where is the older generations not understanding that inflation has occurred far more? Because we have a huge detachment right now of people not understanding that, like, yeah, their house that they've got locked in at their rate that they complain about that's too damn high or whatever. But even though they bought the house 20 years ago in a market that was ripe for the picking. So you have boomers or older people who bought their house when it was like $400,000, $600,000. And they're like, well, how come you can't afford a house? And it's like, bro, a house is $3 million. Like, where's, like, you only had to come up. Yeah. And then the gap, and they're not understanding the major plateau that hourly wages have gone on. So that's, I mean, it's crazy to think that, like, if you really sit down and think about it, like, the minimum wage almost didn't go up for like 10, 15 years.
Oh, I remember when that whole thing was going on and people were trying to push for that minimum wage, and it didn't even go up that much, right?
No, it didn't. By the time that it went up, it was too late. And right now in Hawaii, it's too late. Your average job is paying $15 to $20 an hour, and the cost of living is about $19.36. That means at the end of every hour you work, if you're at least making $20 an hour, you're not even taking home that 70 cents because it's going to get lost in your taxes. So please tell me now why it makes sense. Brad, you've been a little silent over there. What are your thoughts on the matter? I mean, we have kind of a current issue with employers just not thinking of the future and morale of their employees. Where do you see that?
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where they feel it's cheaper to literally, as you said at the top, let them eat themselves, let them scramble over, trying to make these little drips and drabs that, you can't keep food on the table, can't pay your rent, There you endlessly have to come up, with lots of side hustles, and don't even get me started on how women aren't even paid equally, to what men are in sort
You
of
know
like the
what?
corporate
Speaking of
environment.
that, there was an amazing thing. I don't know how much time you spend on Twitter, but there's actually a women's pay gap bot that was made in response
Really?
to World Women's Month. Because, we were like, oh, yay, women, Women's Day, sisterhood, all that stuff. And so then all of these corporations were trying to corporate wash themselves by tweeting yay Women's Day. And so then these people made a bot on Twitter. And what it does is the second that your company tweets hashtag Women's Day 2022 or whatever, it looks up your company's status on how well it pays women and then retweets your message that you just tweeted and then tells everybody the truth. And I scrolled through their retweets for about, I want to say 40 minutes. And I only found 3 businesses that equally pay women. And I only found 2 or 3 businesses that pay women more. But they're obviously fields where nurses, women are going to get paid more because there tends to be more women nurses depending on your locale. So it was very surprising to see how many people deleted their tweets, how many corporations deleted their tweets right afterwards because they're like, fuck this bot's serving us up hot and it's dropping the tea. Yeah. So I now follow that bot on Twitter. That's a bot to follow. I can get behind
What's the
that
bot? Do you know what the bot is?
Yeah, here. It's
Let's all follow this bot. This bot is
it's the pay gap
good.
bot. So, absolutely worth it. It's just, it's crazy. You could scroll through it. The gender pay gap bot. All right. That's at pay gap app, PAYGAPAPP on Twitter. And, you could go through all their tweets and you could see, and it's corporations worldwide. So it's not just America. They're not just tweeting against America. They're tweeting against every country who needs to put up and shut up about it. Because unless you're as cool as Iceland, who could just everybody walks out and goes, hey, women's pay. And then they go, yeah, we should do that. And then fixed. Whereas America, it's no, you don't understand. Your brain, it's tiny. We still believe in phrenology and other weird shit like that. It's come on, guys. I'm tired of this stupid, these are the same stupid excuses that they use on brown people. They've just been using on girls too. It's just we all come from the same cosmic goop. We all the same sack of meat with brain jelly inside our noggins. There's nothing really separating us except for inbreeding in some cases. But, woof. I just don't get it. I don't get where the disconnect is in American society on paying people what they're worth, because then you got people who never even owned a small business who are throwing in their 2 cents and going just but how are they supposed to be able to start their business? And then, so here's something that eats me up about Hawaii is this whole conversation about training wages. So if there's training wages, is there training rent?
What do you mean training rent?
Exactly. Hey, if you guys are going to pay $14 an hour when you should be paying $25, then there better be a place to rent that someone who makes $14 an hour. Because this bullshit of you got to go find a roommate. And it's no. You can't keep changing the rules of the economy. We should be bending to the needs of the economy to maintain homeostasis, not turning around and forcing the economy to do terrible things. Because, it's we already live in a monopoly of a monopoly. So at the end of the day, a corporation who owns a corporation, who owns a corporation, who owns a dude who sits on a board tells you to treat your neighbor like shit because they won't pay them more money. That's where America needs to wake up right now, is that you have a dark figure behind a dark figure, real conspiracy level problems. And it's the corporations. It's the people that feed you the Donald Trumps. It's the Dole colonial fucking Atherton level bullshit that is going on in America. You have real oligarchs causing problems right here. Foxes in the hen house. And they're happening on both sides. You've got corporate ones in California that are killing our environment. Mike Levin every other day, man. Hey, let's go take this nuclear waste and find some place to stick it. Oh, Native American land, you say? Don't worry, they're not people. You know? So, that's the thing is like we're losing sight on both sides. It's gotten to a point to where the shaming is occurring on both sides. Do as I say, not as I do is happening on both sides. It's causing a huge extremism of understanding the cosmos of politics and economy right now. And I feel that America, especially Hawaii, is not engaged enough in understanding what they're owed. And that's the thing is you have to understand what you're owed. There's a supply and demand to the market. So if the housing market says houses cost this much, and the food market says food costs this much, then a good business owner has to know that they have to pay that much in order to maintain morale and keep turnover from occurring. But now instead,
they're just not doing the math.
No, they're not. They're not doing the math. So we're gonna do a little math questionnaire here. All right. So like we're just gonna run off the fact that like your average person makes $15 to $20 an hour right now in Hawaii, right? Realistically, if you wanted to be, well, we're gonna find out how much you really need to be able to make to be saving for a future and to be able to move up in the world. So I'm going to ask some very simple questions. This is not like even big numbers here. We're just going to do a simple walk through the park. So Sarah, what do you pay in rent every month?
$2,300.
$2,300 for a 2-bedroom.
Yeah, for a bedroom.
Woof. How much do you spend on food every month?
Oh shit.
400, 600?
At least 500.
At least 500. Yep, saw that coming. How much do you spend on gas a week?
Probably about 80 a week.
80 a week, so that's $320 in gas. Home utilities bill. What about how much do you pay for your electricity?
I mean, luckily mine's included, but typically not here, a lot of
Well, you're lucky. So is your water included too?
Yeah.
You are lucky. All right. So some may be lucky. Let's see what this lucky case still gets you. And then so your phone bill. How much your phone bill cost you every month?
Oh gosh, $150, I think.
$150, and then the internet.
I lucked out on that one, and it's included. But I remember when I was paying it my last, and that was a good, I think, $60, $70, I think.
And that's for like basic internet. So like 60, 70 basic. Well, you know what? Let's just look at we're gonna skew things in favor of the bootstrappers here and say that this is all you need. Because let's say you already own a car. Okay, let's just play towards that. Okay, so we got $2,800, $3,120, $3,270. So about $3,300 a month. So how often do you ever come to like hitting that number properly with space to breathe?
I mean, I'm having to work multiple jobs.
So how many hours a week do you feel yourself? You're constantly working. You don't turn it off.
I've set my life up so that I can live my life and constantly work at the same time, because that's the only way I feel like anyone could survive living here. It's kind of working outside of the box and working various different jobs and being able to do it as you're living your life, because I don't know how people make it out here if they don't do that.
Exactly. Absolutely. So taking that, what you have right there, for you to break even, you'd have to make $20.62.5 an hour. Mm-hmm. That's just for you to break even. That's just to say that you have $0 left in your bank account. So business owners, if you're listening and you have a modicum of respect for your employees, I just read out loud the basic, like, girl got lucky, internet, water, and electricity are included.
Yeah.
Most people...
One person, right? That's not like including like if they have children, if like basically life.
Exactly. So that's saying that you don't have Netflix. That's saying, because all those bootstrappers will say, and that's the thing is like, I didn't even ask for your insurance. So responsible adult stuff still hasn't even been completely covered yet. And we're at $20. So realistically, in the current state of inflation that we're about to go through, and as it increases, we're going to be staring, by the time that they approve the $22 an hour in 2024, you're going to need to make $30 or more in the state of Hawaii. How do we solve that? How do we solve that in a world where business owners don't have no money? Because half of the boomer generation never thought about, they heard the words turnkey business and then they just showed up. They didn't go, I need to have 3 years worth of salary available. You ask any new age boomer business owner about how many years of salary they have, they look at you like you're a fucking moron. And then you have to sit there slack-jawed and go, how the hell do you have any equity or security in your company? It doesn't make any sense to me. This is why small businesses are not taken seriously. This is why a corporation of a corporation of a corporation owns a monopoly of the entire market. This is why things like Vanguard exist. Because you have a system where you're not educating people enough how to go into business for themselves. So you get wunderkinds who are occasionally lucky. You know, you have people who learn how to hustle, but then at the end of the day, are they even like, you don't turn it off. So think about that. If you never turn it off, the value of your dollar goes down every hour that you stay on the clock. So even though you may be making that $22, $23 an hour to pay your bills at minimum, technically per the amount of time that you're giving to the job and your client load,
oh God,
your dollar is like $5 to $10 less than that on the hour because you're spreading it thinner, because you take your work home with you. So you showed up to work and you worked 8 hours for $20 an hour, but then you went home for 4 hours and you worked on it. That comes out of your pocket. People don't think about that as breakage. You know, and that's where the contractor era has kind of screwed over the common worker, is because most of you don't understand what it's like to be a contractor. Like, I went into to contracting as most of my services, whether on set or in the boardroom, directly after Disney, right when the first economic collapse occurred. And it was probably the safest thing I could have done. It was either that or go back to college, and I'm very thankful I didn't do that because I'd end up in debt like most of these other kids. So we're at a point of misunderstanding. You have an entire group of people who think that they're just not working hard enough. You have an imposter syndrome. I mean, shit, how many people do you see on TikTok or on Instagram flexing, hey, don't tell me, well, you know, how hard you got it. I work 100 hours a week. And it's like, brah, if you working 100 hours a week and you only making like pennies, then the shame's on you, bro, because you're wasting your time working for somebody else. You're a slave to that system. Like, if you want to see change in this, you have to start demanding equal pay. That's one thing that separates our generation from two generations who got what they wanted. You have to go out there and ask for it. You have to demand that your pay is commensurate with what the market demands. And the market demands that we actually need, in order to like save money for a future, you know, especially since most of us are now forced to be contract workers. So who gets a 401k anymore? You are your own 401k now. So that means that like if you're your own 401k, you have to make like $40 an hour. There's a certain point to where it realistically, if you wanted to consider what your life is valued at right now, sit down. Anybody who's listening, sit down and equate the value of like your hours spent, how many hours you're working, how much actual time you get against your family, and do it as a profit and loss report.
Man, that's depressing.
Treat your life as a P&L report. Trust me, from a fiduciary perspective, the second that you look at your life as a P&L, you will start doing things right by you. Because then you go, shit, I ain't going to go do that for that so-and-so. That's $50 under what I'm worth. Or that's $30 under what I'm worth. Or at least it's $10 underneath what the market is. So you need to stop letting them convince you that like, oh, well, you know, it's an entry-level job, so we could pay you $1 an hour training wage. And you're like, okay, I need the opportunity. No, because you know what? There are just as many jobs out there and just as many people out there that are offering the right thing. So don't get clouded in the idea that someone is going to, you know, if you cater to that person, another person's going to cater to that person, and then so on and so on. And that's how you get an entire generation of people that are stuck in a headcanon, who don't go talking to their boss, who don't stand up for themselves, who aren't willing to talk about it on air, because every industry is shaming them right now. But how do we fix that? How do you, so let's take this from a working person's perspective. After, paycheck and bills and working the grind or working 5 hustles, how are we supposed to generate wealth in our economy locally?
Well, yeah, that is sort of like the age-old question. I mean, unfortunately, what happens with our market, which I'm sure happens, which is singular, is that huge shoots from the mainland come here and basically capitalize off, a workforce that is always looking for, a way to get paid within the industry. And the only available gigs that they give out only pay a certain amount. And we're told that, they need to meet a budget and, they can only afford to pay X, Y, and Z.
Ben, I'm going to interrupt you right there. As someone who's been a production coordinator enough, I know that like 50% of the time, that line right there is bullshit. And that there's a line producer. There's a line producer between the people at the top and the people at the bottom, and they go and they figure out a number because they get to skim more off of it if they do. There is a middleman. There is a lot of unnecessary people in this industry. Some line producers are good, but I have to say that there are a lot of people who get into executive producing just so they could go skim money off the top. And they take all that cream and then they lead us on a expedition to hell for cheese and crackers. And then they try to tell us, oh, we're filmmakers. Look at you. You're artists. Don't you want to enjoy your art? It's okay. You can choose. You can either be, you can cash that check or you can be an artist. And the second that they tell you that, kids, that's when you need to walk away. Because that's some Stromboli level shit. That's the kind of stuff that Stromboli went up to Pinocchio and was like, you want to come to this island? It's a party. Free cigars, guys. And then after like 6 weeks of cigars and freaking drag shows, you're like, oh, wow, it's not as cool as it's cracked up to be. Because you can't pay your bills. The only way that you can survive, and then you stay on set because if you stop working in the industry, you stop getting crafty. And that's how you've been eating for 3 weeks is crafty. There are times, no, I gotta tell you this, like, I have means, okay? I have means in this world. I'm more blessed than some people. I'm not as blessed as others. But I will say this, even as a guy who like has to think about like, other people in my life to support, like, how do you disappear for 6 weeks and still send money home? Oh, yeah, you're going to eat crafty. But then, like, at what point do you, like, start leveraging that in to, like, oh, you know what? I'll take the gig. There's at least going to be good crafty here.
People get in those positions where they have to take because there's just no other options, So they kind of have the upper hand where it's either you work in the industry or you don't. If you don't, take the lower pay.
Isn't that terrible, though, to think that, like, your option is to be exploited?
Like, you love the art, but you can only
But no, but see, that's, no, because here's the thing, and this is why I'm going to call the line as a conservative on art and business. Mm-hmm. We live in a capitalism, okay? Just as much as we live in a democracy, we live in a capitalism. So that requires making money to play ball. This has been established for more than 150 years that this is how the game is played. So shaming artists into thinking that they have no monetary value and making them go through this unnecessary grind just because, oh, maybe the stress will make you a greater artist. No, it'll make you blow out your brains at 27 with drugs, alcohol, or women like Heath Ledger did, okay? This is why people explode in the industry. This is why people explode other places in other industries, because we have these unnecessary standards set for that, how much that this generation has to deliver. And by and large, I will have to say, these three youngest generations have to deliver 10 times more than their parents' generation. I mean, and it's such a stark difference. Like, everything from education to money. Money costs like 12 times more than it did when our parents were our age. And education is nearly, what is it? See, the exit requirement for like class of 74 throughout America, it was less than like 80 credits. 80 credits. Graduating class of 2003 from El Camino High School, where I went in California, 240 credits required to exit. And that wasn't extra credit. That was, they decided, hey, we're going to put you through hell. Okay? It is literally definable on a line that there is a generation in charge of us that is dumber than a brick, and it's provable on paper because they never had to do anything more than show up for 4 years of English 101 and they gave them a degree. We're talking about an entire generation that only had to show up for 6 semesters of PE and they got an AA. And then 20 years passes by and they flip and they go, hey, you guys have to do better than us. I'm totally fine for having to do better, but I don't think that there's anything given from our predecessors that notify us that they understand that the economy's grown, the economy's more expensive, that their lives are secure because they have a house that's 20 years old, because they got it from it's a time capsule of a good economy.
Can't teach dog, or what is it, the saying? Can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's like you can't convince them, right? But that's what's happening.
I think it has to be done. I mean, I think that we have to hammer this home, and it has to happen regularly. We need to stop shaming the working class. I mean, the retail class is what holds the economy together. So if someone who makes only $20 an hour is coming home with zero left in their pocket, how are they supposed to be able to go out and spend money on local businesses?
Yeah.
All right. So then that brings me to my next point of this deeper conversation is, so, you know, outside of like patronizing businesses, you know, and taking advantage of better jobs, I mean, we're at a point to where, I mean, unemployment's picking up the back end a lot, but then we also have less and less people even claiming unemployment because they're like, unemployment's not going to pay me enough. Work's not going to pay me enough. I'm just going to go hit 2 rocks together and until I'm a hit on TikTok and hope I get paid.
It's basically what everybody's doing, right?
Yeah, no, I mean,
crossing their fingers, something big will happen and get them out of this situation. We're all just hoping.
This is why I had to leave, you know, client-based marketing, because it's a flooded market now. Everybody can do it themselves, or so they think, or at least there's some guy on Fiverr who's going to buy you bots, and everybody also thinks they're a know-it-all, and none of them read the manual. So that's the one thing I will have against our generation and the 2 or 3 around us. Nobody reads the fucking manual. And I can tell you, as someone I've had every client, there's none unscathed from this. And that's why, even in cases of just when communication hits low with some, it's totally, it doesn't hurt me or strike me that they've even just biased themselves to just not respond to anything or just go off into the sunset or whatever and move on, is that they didn't read the manual. And then you sit there and tell them, I read the manual, this is what we got to do. And they go, no, I like using a sword as a butter knife. I'm sorry. I watched this YouTube video and stayed at a Holiday Inn, so now I think I know more than you. Who cares if you went to every keynote speech? And so, we have kind of a conflict in information. We have a conflict in growth. We have a conflict of opportunity. And it's how do we create opportunity without just throwing money people? You know, or at least learning how to throw money at people better. You know, if there are all of these Jobs Act subsidies and investors can be secured, whether it's 181 filmmaking or it's all the stuff in tech or all the stuff in pharma that keeps getting subsidies, the car market, the electric market, all of these things exist. Why aren't there? Big question. Why aren't there people just looking to just give money to people who could do something with that money? There are enough thousandaires, millionaires, enough banks who can easily afford to take the loss because the United States government has created an opportunity to get rid of that loss and foist it on your taxes. Why aren't, I think that, if we wanted to see, a real influx on Maui, let's have investor vacations. Let's go find, people from the mainland who got money and their community's fine. Bring them on out to Maui. Go, bro, if you buy into this, you know? I really think that we, need the next upgrade. Did you guys ever hear about the app Kiva? Early crowdfunding platform. Kiva was established as a way to help rural Africans start their own businesses. So say some dude wants to start a goat farm, $20 American will buy 3 goats who can get it on. So then you give that guy enough money to go pick up some goats and start breeding goats. And then 5 months later, he pays you the $20 back because your $20 can go a really long way in a third world country.
Yeah.
So if you take people who are living in first world status and more or less in like a financial Malama Hanua fashion, go introduce them to another economy, but not in a carpetbagging fashion. Just introduce them to the economy and go, look, you can invest here. There's all these things to do here. And no matter what, you're going to get your money back. Yeah. And it's just like when we were talking about 181. Like, you make more money if it's a flop anyways, so who cares? Why are all these investors like, there's nothing to invest in? These little guys, we're just cracking eggs by letting them loose. And it's like, dude, we have to do something to percolate the economy, you know? Yeah. And it's like somewhere in there, like there has to be a way of connecting small businesses with, one, the people who could get them off the ground, two, the people who can put money in their hands, and three, a government that could teach them how to do business correctly. Because that's half of, you know, what we live in is a capitalism. And why aren't our communities teaching conscious capitalism? So small and big businesses can take on the cost of living, and we don't have to subsidize them anymore. Well, that was pretty deep. I kind of went nuts there. And you know what? We need to take a break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about the happenings of the fun stuff. We're going to escape after these messages.
Moving forward.
It doesn't matter what you were wearing, what you were drinking, or what you agreed to in the past. Sexual assault is never your fault. Support is available 24/7 through the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Call 1-800-656-HOPE or visit RAINN.org. That's RAINN.org. Remember, it's not your fault.
Moving forward.
All right, we're back, and man, what a back it's been. Long morning here, folks. A lot to comprehend. I know the world, crazy place. So let's escape from it. Let's escape from it, Sarah. Let's escape. What? Take me somewhere beautiful. Calgon, take me away. What's going on? What do you got to tell me?
Well, we're gonna go to Disney World.
We're going to Disney World. All right, you already got.
But unfortunately, I've got some bad news.
What?
About Disney
No,
World.
I wanted to escape. I didn't want to be reminded that reality is a cruel mistress. All right, well, tell me anyways.
Dreams come true, but dreams are also crushed. Because, so do you know the attraction, all right, let me just find it right here, the Spirit of Aloha dinner show. And I'm asking you because I know you've worked at Disney before, so you probably know this show very well, don't you?
So I worked at the Anaheim Park, dabbled in a little time over at Florida for some small segments here and there. I have seen the Spirit of Aloha show. It's cute. It's essentially like it's like taking like the Grand Luau. You know, It's like going to Grand Luau, but then putting a little more Disney production value on it. Like, did you ever go to Disneyland and see like the Fantasyland medley thing where they just do all the songs together? But anyways, so essentially it's like a review meets an actual luau. Like there's a buffet, all you can eat, the whole 9 yards. To a degree, some things are very gentrified menu items just because like that's what people gonna eat because you're not expecting like why waste the poi, why waste the lomi, just not gonna eat it. They're gonna be like, we're just gonna put some pineapples on some ham and call it a day because these honkies are gonna waste it if you give them otherwise. So yeah, no, interesting show, fun. Not surprised that it's being canceled. They kind of when dinner shows hit a tenure with Disney, and I think the thing is like with all the expansions that they're doing, you know, they're kind of like they've invested so much in Aulani.
I mean, 50 years. It's been going on for 50.
Yes, but you got to remember that when it was created, it was more of an abomination to the Hawaiian culture than it was a help.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was absolutely horrible and offensive.
I also
All of you.
think that it's kind of a better thing that it disappears, and then that Polynesian Cultural Center kind of becomes a generic one, and then like
yeah, do like a new Polynesian. Maybe they're revamping the Polynesian. Maybe they've realized, you know what? We need to put some actual pig in here and stop doing this. Like,
no. That's giving Disney way too much credit in a time where they've disappointed us way too much. So don't say that out loud, because in reality, Disney will probably replace it with another Star Wars land or something. Okay? Yeah. But I really think it's okay, because you know what? That brings enough shift to Aulani. And then it makes it like, well, you want Disney and Hawaii at the same time? You got to go to Hawaii. And then you can have Hawaiian Disneyland.
Funny.
Yeah.
Love a lot.
Yeah. Well, you know, the only bone I have to pick with that is like, that's one of like the only places that you can get a screening of the Olelo copy of Moana. You know, you can't watch, there is a copy of Moana in the Hawaiian language, but you can only get it as an educational copy, and they do not have it on Disney Plus.
Really?
Yeah, you cannot watch. Go ahead and check it. You can get on Disney Plus. Go check Moana. There is no Olelo section, but no Olelo copy exists. And so here's something I want you to do for me, because you know what? Kihei Library's got one.
Kihei Library? I'm going to go to that library.
Yep, go to that library, and then, we're going to check it out. Well, we will. And then, so it turns out like libraries are the only places who got them, but we're going to have to check them out. I have only seen pieces of it in passing, because I wasn't a part of like the parties or the goings on for those Moana screenings. I was around when one or two was happening, but then I was like, oh, what's that? And they're like, oh, private event. And I'm like, what? How do I not get to be a part of this? And then I was just like, it's going to be on Disney Plus later, right? It's going to be on Disney Plus later. Nope. Childhood ruined even more. Like, that would have made up for the fact that like so many wrong things that Disney has wronged against Polynesians and the Hawaiian people specifically in their representation of us. All they had to do was just put that shit. Dude, Moana's already number 2 Moana's number 2 only if something new premieres on Disney Plus. Did you know that?
No.
The streaming numbers on Disney Plus are so freaking high. So Moana constantly sits at number 1 unless something else shows up. It is the most regularly watched Disney Plus title. Imagine what it would do to numbers if they put the Olelo copy on there.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, it's probably because of rights. Because then, like, I know enough Hawaiians who have seen it all the way through that they're like, bro, the Olelo version of Maui is so much better than The Rock. But then it's like, do you tell that's a Rock? Be like, no, oh shit, you know? And then they paid The Rock all that money. And then they paid everybody to do that kind of like half, like little bits here and there. Like, okay, let's put a little, let's do a little pigeon. Oh, let's do a little this. And it's like, okay, that's cute. But there's like an international copy that exists. So like, I think this whole Spirit Aloha thing's kind of an okay thing. Because I think it's gonna open more of a conversation towards Hawaii owning the narrative on their contribution to Disney. But speaking of positive contributions to Disney, Miss Marvel trailer. Have you all seen the Miss Marvel trailer?
Oh yeah.
So good.
I've seen it. Looks good.
Sarah?
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to see it. I saw the trailer actually just a few hours ago, and there was a line in it that just like she said something about like, you know, you think it was only a fantasy of like a brown girl being a superhero from Jersey, you know? And like, yes, we got a little brown girl superhero. I love it.
No, actually, I think she was more worried about the New Jersey part because nobody ever wanted a hero from New Jersey. No, we're fine with brown people being superheroes. No, no, I think that was filler. I think they were more worried about. No, I'm just kidding. Everybody, no, we. I wish we could say we're in a post-racist world, so that way the most we can go is silly New Jerseyans. Don't give them a job. No, I'm just kidding. Love New Jersey. Don't bury me there. But no, it really there were a lot of big remarks on it. I will have to say that because this is a character who was made specifically the way she was in the comics, there is nothing that the fanboys can complain about. Nothing. They can't. They can't go, oh, go get a white one. Oh, why are they doing this? This is pandering or something. Where did this character come from? Like Kamala Khan, for those of you who don't know, Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan, is actually a girl who grows up idolizing the Avengers, particularly Captain Marvel, to the point to where like she cosplays as her. And then along the way, depending on the story arcs, in some cases it's a metagene enhancement, in other cases it's a mantle. She's got these cool bracers. And it's kind of like a Shazam thing almost. And she is then empowered with, she gets scroll powers, which is like essentially like the bigger, like she could potentially be stronger than Captain Marvel if like she knew how to use the scroll energy correctly. And so her primary power is actually polymorphism. So she can like make her hand 10 times size bigger and like smash things with it. It's not exactly like Mr. Fantastic Reed Richards, because it actually has more kinetic oomph to it. So it's less like I'm going to like twist around you in a knot in a funny way. It's like I'm going to make giant karate chops and split you in half. And then it's all revolving around a kid who overnight has powers and wants to contribute. And then like the Avengers are already gone. But how do we rebuild? You know, how do we rebuild when there's nothing to rebuild? And Kamala Khan kind of becomes the gateway to the next phase of the Marvel mythos. So even though she's not on the big screen, her story is actually going to have a huge effect, because I feel that this is going to eventually play into the Hawkeye verse that has been created now on Disney Plus, and now that we have Defenders on Disney Plus, and Matt Murdock showed up in Spider-Man. That means he's back. He is canon now. We are happy he's canon now. So yeah. So we get to see Charlie Cox again as Daredevil, action sandwiching it up. And so I think that crossover is going to happen, especially like with the finale of Hawkeye the way it was. There's got to be a huge conspiracy that's going to bring all the Defenders back together, and then Kamala's going to go from the Defenders to the Avengers. I'm calling it right now. And then that's eventually, well, the only way that you're going to like get past the man at the end of time, or at the end of universes and all that stuff that happened in Loki. Like, my bet's on Galactus. This is really just, we're going to open it, like, it's either going to be, we're either going to get, like, some Kree Sentinel type of story, or we're just going to get Galactus. But that's where my money's at, because that's how I feel about the Ms. Marvel trailer. Well, since we're still on Disney, it's kind of a Disney week. You know, last week was kind of an HBO week. This was kind of a Disney week. Turning Red came out. Did any of y'all see Turning Red?
I haven't.
What?
I have not seen that yet.
What? You guys need to go see it. Oh my God, it's on the Disney Plus. It's amazing. Yes. And it's a beautiful coming of age story about a young girl and changes in her life, and she becomes a panda. Everybody thought I was going to say period. But no, it kind of talks about, you know, but here's the funny part is the name is so on the nose that dumb people are misinterpreting it. You know, I will tell you this. I've watched it, and the period conversation is not really about it, because it gets interrupted by the plot of the film. Like, she doesn't get her period. She doesn't wear a pad. There's no conversation about that, because everybody keeps embarrassing her because they think that, oh my God, she's 13, it must be her period. No, folks, it's the fact that when she develops as a woman, because her family has this ancient fucking superpower, she turns into a giant red panda.
What?
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's adorable. So this is about a girl who's been bestowed a special power. It does, however, there's a lot of correlation with becoming a woman and going through your period. but they don't have to. Disney does a really good job of not outrightly saying this is a period. They're like, these are all the
Right.
weird things you go through. So the panda and the transformations, that's definitely her going through her womanhood. But the
Yeah.
conversation surrounding it, I will have to say that from
This
Asian.
sounds so good. Just from you explaining it, this sounds so good for girls.
It is. Well, and especially for Asian Pacific Islanders, because there's a lot of rough convos in there. Like, I mean, I've grown up enough around Polynesian Asian women to know, like, your struggle is real out there, sisters, if you're listening. I know that, like, most of our moms just handed you maxi pads and went, anything else is from the devil, you know?
And they're like,
Yeah, so like they even cover that in it. They even covered that in there. Her mom's like, "You gonna use pads?" And it's like everything. Everyone in the room cringed when they heard that. Like, "No, mom, I don't want stank fish."
oh, there
Yeah.
he is. I
So
watched this.
yeah, it's totally worth it. Anybody who is complaining that that it's too on the nose, or it's, you know what? I mean, we have nearly 3 years of children who should have got the birds and the bees talk from school, but they didn't get it because we had virtual teaching. I mean, we're gonna, like, I think we're actually gonna, like, that's gonna cause real, like, Rona babies.
That's gonna have some
Yeah, we're gonna see a micro generation come out of them.
We're gonna be like, ooh, that was because of the COVID time. Yeah, he
grew up in the COVID time. And so he didn't get the birds and the bees talk because then his parents got even weirder during that time. Yeah. So, like, I think Turning Red actually shows up at a perfect time. Like, it creates a conversation in a household. It's a respectful way of having the conversation. And it's adorable. And the representation is real. These are real problems that a young girl goes through. These are especially from the perspective of a young Asian girl growing up in colonial mainland. And so, I mean, she's in Canada, but really, like, not a lot of difference on the way that they treat Asian people up there versus down here. So, like, it's, yeah.
I've seen extended clips of the film. I haven't seen the whole film altogether, but, like you, Kawika, I mean, I've been around sort of like Asian culture enough to know that the daughters are always expected and put upon more than male members of the family. There has never been a accurate story about the relationship between Asian daughters and their mom.
Oh, absolutely.
And how that can be just like a problem. So I'm really excited to sort of see this, and I also like sort of like the representation throughout. I mean, she's got like a diverse group of friends that she hangs out with, that are every color of the rainbow and the whole thing. So it's good.
It was a realistic story. I mean, you had best friends. There's Tamagotchis involved. There's CD mixtapes. There's even a boy band. It's seriously like, I felt like I was in high school.
5-star, right? 4-star, but there's 5 guys in it.
Yeah, but there's 5 guys in it. Yeah, and so then so it's just like, it took me back to like the NSYNC Backstreet Boy days. I definitely got the feel for it.
Wow.
There was some really gushy moments in there. The aunties were hilarious. Really good choice on the casting for Tutu. Really good casting on the aunties. And it was a very rich story. Like, it covered their heritage and culture, and then it covered why it's perceived the way it is and the way that the conversations are had. So, like, 10 out of 10 on representation on this movie, which is far better than I can say for things like Frozen, like Frozen 2, they were like, oh yeah, this does great for indigenous first peoples, of the North and all that stuff. I was like, just because you put 2 runes and you sang a half-ass song doesn't mean that, like, no, I didn't learn anything about these people other than they're stuck in a fog and they've been fighting like the Hatfields and McCoys. Whereas, like, Turning Red, you're like, this is the temple. This is where we come from. This is why our culture is the way this way. This is why my mom and I are the way we are. Because then, like, it actually, like, it portrays it. Because, like, a lot of people from the outside, they look at Polynesians and Asians, they're like, wow, your family's way too tight. And it's like, no, we got commitment, ride or die, bro. Like, I got shit I have to do even on days that I do not get along with my mama, but shit's got to get done, and we eat that. We understand it. We know it. We dish it out. So the story has it in spades. I'm probably going to rewatch it again, but that's after I finally watch the Batman, because I didn't watch the Batman last week, Sarah.
Yeah.
I got too busy.
Oh, I don't feel so bad now. I don't feel so bad at all. I don't know. I'm kind of feeling that, like, the longer I take this, it's kind of a build-up. They're like, what? He hasn't seen it yet? But then, like, people are like, ooh, dodge the bullet. I'm not going to hear a spoiler today. So you luck out again, all right?
Maybe.
For those of you listening at home, you luck out again. I'm not spoiling Batman this week because I got adulting to do that got in the way. So maybe next week I'll get it. Yeah, I probably will, because it'll probably be out of theaters the week after that if I don't get it soon. Even though it's
I think
I didn't do it this week. Drive.
I think you'll enjoy it. It's my birthday month, so I treated myself and did it the right way. I took like a flask of Basil Hayden with me. I had like a steak dinner before I went. I think you'll like it. I would love to, I'll love to hear sort of like what it is that you have to say about it. Kawika. It's going to be good. You too, Sarah. I mean,
maybe we can have you back on when we talk about it.
Sure. And Sarah, I would encourage you to go see it too, because I don't know if you guys have talked about Sarah's stunt acumen. She is a stunt woman as well as an actress, and I'll tell you, I don't know. I mean, we'd have to wait for a sort of like the behind the scenes sort of like documentary on what Zoe Kravitz did. But my gosh, she put in a performance on that character that was so strong. They're already talking about giving her either like her own separate series or her own set of movies. And
that franchise,
my God, she looks good.
Her too.
Yeah.
That franchise is getting so many spinoffs. Like, it wasn't even a week into it being in theaters, and then they announced the Colin Farrell series. So, like, he's getting a Penguin series on HBO Max, which is, like, perfect timing because the Batwoman series is about to end, and then most of the Flash universe is about to disappear. And then like, a lot of that whole CW, like, 90210 superhero phase that DC's been on, it's about to close out. Because, I mean, no more Arrow. You can't, if you don't have Stephen Amell around, you can't keep the Arrowverse alive. So they're really going to try to double down on the fact that they poached James Gunn long enough to give a Marvel-level reboot to DC, which DC regularly does throughout history. Like, you go back to the comics age, I mean, back when everybody was trading everybody around, like, dude, the guy who made the best Superman stories ended up becoming the COO of Marvel. Like, these guys traded around all these companies, and that's really, like, I feel that, like, the artistic integrity of DC has always been there. Like, they have great artists, they have great inkers, they kind of know where to keep the story going after all these years, but they keep losing the best innovators to Disney and Marvel. Because, like, they're like, oh, but Disney's going to let me write Spider-Man. Why would I want to try to do the 15th Superman movie and have everybody hate me when you guys... No, sorry, I'm going to go write Spider-Man. You know? So, like, I can't...
No, I hear you, man. I agree with you 100%. And I think in that race between DC and Marvel, especially with these movies and how popular they've become, I think the winners of those battles of who's going to go see the movie, who's going to make these films, the next blockbuster, has to do with the studio willing to take the dive and actually push the envelope. There's a great story on Huffington Post where they did an interview with Zoe Kravitz, and she auditioned to be Batwoman in sort of like the last go round, and they told her that she was too urban.
Yeah. No, well, that's what they used to say. That's their way of saying you too brown for the role.
Oh, hey, man, you have to tell me. Wait, who are you talking to? Me and Sarah are from Chicago. You don't have to tell us.
Yeah. No,
I get
that
it. Before.
No, comes right after you're overqualified. What do you mean I can't have the job? If I'm overqualified, why can't I have the job?
I hear you, brother. But like, the thing is that the world is starting to come around to that. And unfortunately, until the studios actually see the money coming in,
they're not
from these kind of things. They're just like,
because they're not advertising it to be successful. Like, it's gonna get greenlit, but as long as they have Guggenheim and Berlanti sitting at the end of the production line for all these shows, I don't see them going anywhere. So, like, please, like, that's the problem, is that, like, look at Black Lightning. Black Lightning went through the most turbulent freaking existence because it constantly, like, I admired the fact that they wanted to try to shoot it in Atlanta, so it was in Black Hollywood, but then White Hollywood just, like, abandoned it. They left it at its post, and they just, like, walked away from it regularly, so there was never any continuity with the rest of the CW verse. And so if that transfers into HBO in any way, which I hope it doesn't, but the thing is right now we're riding high on DC one-shots. Like, and those one-shots are being put on by people who are not going to be in the production long haul with HBO, Warner Brothers, DC. Like, James Gunn is going to have to go back to Marvel eventually. There's no way that they're going to take him away. I mean, we're lucky we got Peacemaker, but I'm sure they're going to turn around after the third Guardians volume and be like, bro, you're going to save the next phase. Like, write us Galactus. You know, it's like, and he got to write Starro, the Conqueror, for Suicide Squad 2. So that's kind of like the best thing that you can do for DC is activate an IP that, like, nobody could have ever done. But, like, that's a mic drop that nobody's going to ever repeat, because if a crazy kid shows up in Hall H at Comic-Con and goes, you know, it'd be a great idea, do a Starro Suicide Squad story, and be like, shut up, kid, you're drunk on power, go away. James Gunn shows up and goes, you know what, guys? Starro. Oh, fuck yeah, James Gunn, great idea. You know, so it's like the fans have been screaming for what they want from DC for a long time, but every time DC responds with, you know what? We could just go back to the beginning of Batman. Yeah, let's go back to the beginning of Batman. That's our safe space. And then we've gone so much back to the beginning of Batman that Michael Keaton's coming back.
Yeah. Hey, bro, I appreciate everything you're saying. You were right on target. And when it kind of comes down to it, when it comes to being a single brand, when it comes to just being a Sarah Rodriguez, when it comes to just being a Zoe Kravitz, what you have to do is you have to play the cards that are dealt you, and then you have to go and do your own thing. Now, I'm going to drop a name right now. I don't know if I'm allowed to do this.
I'll beep it if it's not allowed to.
For the people. Yeah. I just got off a job working a week with Viola Davis. Viola Davis just came back from South Africa after, like, I don't know, like about a week ago. She got 3 days off, and then she had to come out here to go do a interview with Oprah. She produced this amazing story about the female tribe of African women that the Dora Milaje are based on. I'm almost positive that's what they're based on. And it's called, I believe, the war, like the female king or something like that. But anyway, you know, she's gone down there. She's got her own production company. She's doing like her own thing.
Wait. So wait. Are they doing like a Ya Santewa story or something?
And you know what? I don't know the name of what the tribe is, but it's
is it about the last warrior queen?
Yes. It's about the last warrior queen, and you know, there was a huge sort of like power grab that kind of happened, and then she
was the real Wakanda. Yeah,
tribe,
Ya Santewa.
Yeah.
She was dope, super dope. Like, Ireland talks about Boudica, Africa has Ya Santewa, and she was like, this was before like Islam invaded and then suppressed females. This was before Christianity came in and suppressed females. Like, these women are so renowned that, like, even the Zamarons of the Green Lantern mythos are based on them. And they are a huge part of early civilizations in Africa. And seriously, if it weren't for the meddling of colonialism, she probably would have continued on to build a great empire. Yeah, but Viola Davis is always getting cooler and cooler. Quite frankly, she does a bomb job at Suicide Squad. I seriously, like, when they announced her as Amanda Waller, I just about shit a brick, because I was just like, I know they're not going to get CCH Pounder, because for those of you that don't know, CCH Pounder was the voice of Amanda Waller in all the animated television. So, like, when you heard Mark Hamill and you went, oh, Mark Hamill's the Joker in Batman the Animated Series, you would also go, oh, shit, I just heard CCH Pounder's voice. Amanda Waller's walking in. The most deadliest woman without superpowers in the universe. Don't fuck with that woman. And the gravitas at which CCH Pounder put on Amanda Waller, I was like, that's big shoes to fill. Like, she's always going to be my favorite. Like, she's always going to be my number one Amanda Waller. But Viola Davis, what she did for the character and how she carried it, and it just, people do not give the character of Amanda Waller enough credit in the DC mythos. Like, I would watch a show that's just about her. Like, the things she's done to superheroes, like, she doesn't have any powers, and she's managed to, like, cuck Superman. Fucking, she took Batman's DNA, erased another guy's DNA, and then put Batman's DNA in that guy just to make a new Batman to save the world because Batman was getting old. That's how crazy Amanda Waller has gotten in the DC mythos. And that's like the tip of the iceberg. Like, go back Netflix or like on DC Universe or whatever, go watch Justice League Unlimited on HBO Max, like the OG ones. Like half of the episodes are political episodes between Amanda Waller and the Justice League. And it's like, how do you fight this whole, it's the DOD versus Superman. It's like Action Comics level stories. I really dug them. It was probably like that. If we could get a Justice League like that on television, heck man, give me now I'm just getting excited about things I can't have.
My main point in mentioning her was this, is that I had a really great conversation, not only mostly with her husband. Wonderful guy. We got into it. We started talking really deep, heavy about sort of like, the studio's sort of like actor, sort of like dynamic. And this goes back to just a point I wanted to make, is that the studio is going to help themselves out before they help you out. No matter whether they give you a break or whether they are perceived to make this diverse or whatever it is. What the actor does as a brand after that, that's on them. You got to know that, this movie that Viola wanted to do about, this tribe of women in Africa was not something that Paramount wanted to do, not something, that these other places wanted to do. So she started her own production company. She had all the money. She went ahead and she did it. Now, I think, I don't know for a fact what big names in studio and money's got behind it, but she's built up her reputation where she's a safe bet.
Absolutely.
And, what I will say is that, these studios and sort of like these Marvel big movies and stuff like that, they're going to be what they're going to be because they're going to be, they operate under a dictate of the studio and money, but people who are able to create these characters and get the way and then go off and like their own, the sky's the limit then.
Absolutely. No, I mean, but I think, we really need to take the time to remind younger actors that, like, you have to keep the legacy of your career in mind so you can be prepared to do things like this. I also think that, like, in the just in the full spectrum of your career, there's not always an opportunity to just be able to, like, go out on a limb like that. But I think now more than ever, like, we should be pushing people to fly like that. Because, like, going back to your point that you made of, like, a studio's not going to touch that because of the numbers. But to go back to a point made from earlier, it's like, these numbers are bullshit. You're dealing with 10 people in a room who've decided what the numbers are because the conversions are terrible now. Like, box office returns, like, holistically, if you look at the returns and you actually added inflation to box office numbers from 10 years ago, Hollywood's not doing so well. It's hemorrhaging cash, and it's wasting it in all the wrong places. So I think that, like, Viola is bound to gain something more than what a studio would have given her had she gotten a big studio to do it with her. It's better for her career. It's better for the story. Because then that's the best part is the integrity of the story is kept. Because what happens to a story when corporate television gets a hold of it? So how much of that would have been sanitized because they don't want to? because they don't want to talk about all that. You know, at what point in time does a Ya Santewa story become a Boudica story instead? And the next thing you know, we're all showing up to the hills of Ireland and we're like, didn't we sign up for a different movie like this?
I got a question for the both of you. Because Sarah is a budding sort of starlet, ingenue, action star, drama, whatever. I say that because both Kawika and I have both been on set and actually seen this woman do her stuff. I'm a huge, cheerleader for Sarah. She knows that. I mean, I've got like an altar built to you. I'm kneeling in front of right now. I'll talk about that later. I'm running out of goats, so if anybody has any goats, send them my way because, no, anyway. But
I know a guy on Kiva.
I heard a great interview the other day with Dizos and Miro, who are two of my favorite guys, interviewing and talking to Denzel Washington about Tragedy of Macbeth and a bunch of other things sort of like involved. One of the things, Sarah, that they spoke about or that they asked him about, he said, they said, Denzel, you're not on social media. Everybody's going to, sort of like, challenge that you're an OG and everybody knows you. But, there are a lot of OG guys who are actors who are also out there doing sort of like big profile films, yet you don't partake in any of that. What's your take on sort of social media and actors and actresses sort of like in today's environment? And he thought about it and he was just like, you know what? He was just like, at the end of the day, the brand of any actor is to just be good. He was just like, I'm not sort of like knocking any like sort of side hustle or like whatever and this, but I'm a big proponent of that idea that if you're out there in front of people on one sort of, channel and people are seeing every single aspect of like what it is you're doing, he's just like, and maybe it's just me, I'm old school, I don't do that, but that's sort of like, kind of like my thing. Now, I thought about that and I was just like, well, that might be easy for any male actor. I'm going to say for any male actor to say, they don't have to be out there sort of like doing TikTok videos and dancing and, sort of like doing all these other kind of things. But it's a completely different thing for women. Sarah, I would love to hear what you think about that.
I mean, I can see where he's coming from. Like, how can I word this? Because I see how you can be almost representing yourself as something different online, and you could be almost career, But then again, you have to be out there at the same time, or else nobody knows you. So, as a woman, I do feel like I'm in a position where I have to really just be out there and show myself and be, taking the pictures and telling people what I'm doing, just to stay on top and be on people's minds. I think everybody's just so flooded. And like, as an actor, I think, oh my God, these casting peoples are flooded with all of these people. I'm going to get lost in the mix if I'm not up there being like, hey, see me. So I think it's just a way of being like, I'm here too, because there's just so much out there. You don't want to get lost in the shuffle. But
sure,
I do see where he's coming from, where it's like, you just have to be good. Because the actress we've all just worked with, Danny, she's amazing. She's a phenomenal actress. And she's not really on social media all that much, but she's constantly working,
Right.
Because she's good. Right. And people know that when she is on set, she delivers. So I see where he's saying if you are already in the industry, you can, make a name for yourself. But somebody that's not, I think you almost have to be like, look at me, and have to really present yourself, to everyone.
Right. And then Kawika, I mean, like, you're a social media guru. You know it back and forth. You understand sort of like all the technical aspects behind algorithms and stuff like that. Is it something for young filmmakers and young producers and directors and people who are trying to like build something? Is it smarter just to go specifically with a face on Instagram who has a huge following, because then you can sort of bank on that later on? Or do you find someone that you then sort of say build into that and teach them sort of like what it is to do to help sell the movie.
Well, I'm going to destroy the concept of the answer because this goes into a lot of stuff that I actually like. I've been working on how to spread that knowledge to other people, and I'm going to use early 2000s Denzel against your current date Denzel, and I'm going to quote younger Denzel in saying that it has nothing to do with talent, has everything to do with position. Because young Denzel knew very well that his success was dependent upon Oscar noms, and he made it a point to seduce the Oscar committee, and he's regularly being quoted so in the press and in interviews as know that game. So he knew very well as a young man that if you can deliver and you aren't a handful on set, and then you go and give out hand gibbers at the Hojo once everybody lands in LA for the Oscar committee, and you get them noms lead to more work. And there's a certain point where it doesn't matter if you're the GOAT anymore, because just being the GOAT gets you work to be the GOAT again. So yes, to a degree, I believe that he
playing the game, just not in the Instagram kind of world.
Yeah, no, exactly. His conversion was 18 people, 20 people, or whatever the Oscar committee was at the time, every time that he went in. So, like, and the Oscar committee doesn't really change sizes that often.
So everybody's got to play the game just to get the way in then, huh?
And what's an easier conversion? Making your way towards 20 people or trying to get 20 million followers?
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about positioning. So he hyper-positioned himself, and he has gravitas. He is an amazing actor. Like, I could get like, and the thing is like, he has Denzel style. Like, and I say that in a way because, like, there are actors that, yes, like, when you see them, they're like, oh, he's playing Denzel. But it's like, nobody can play Denzel but Denzel. So there are, like, when you see those certain mannerisms that come out of him, no matter what character it is, because that's his thing to do, you're like, we're about to go on a ride right now. Like, I will have to say, Man on Fire is still one of my most favorites. And that's really just an action romp.
So
have either of you guys seen Tragedy of Macbeth yet?
I have not sat down and watched it yet, but I've kind of been, like, holding off on most of my Apple TV Plus viewing. I still haven't even gotten through Dune or Foundation or any of the other things. I did watch, I watched the Tom Hanks movie. That was the only thing I made space for. I watched
Which one was that one?
Actually, I watched both. I watched both. So they had
Greyhound?
Yeah, I watched Greyhound, and that was good. I'm not a war movie person.
But it was
good.
You
but then the futuristic one was better.
Really busy, because that was a while ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, man.
And then the one with him and the robot. Yeah, I watched the one with him and the robot. But I will have to say this. Okay, so from the social media conversation perspective, okay? So, positioning yourself and being relevant is a very intensive game. And not most people are equipped for it. Like, whether you're a small business, whether you're an actor, whatever you want to be the GOAT of, because in my line of work, a widget's a widget. So it really, like, let's just strike aside Denzel, let's strike aside that, let's just, how to be the GOAT, and using social media to your advantage to be the GOAT. And it's a lot of practice and dedication. It's a lot of time that people don't want to think about. Like, people do not think about, like, the difference between posting live and planning out your post 75 days in advance. Because, well, why don't I just do it right now? And then it's like, well, those 1 minute stack up. If you sat down for 35 minutes right now, we could crack out 80 days worth of content instead of you wasting 20 hours doing 1 minute here, 1 minute there, taking time for yourself, taking time. And then the other thing is, like, and this is why I'm transitioning away from client-based work, and I'm just focusing on my own brand. Not only because there's an inflation and a vacuum of social media gurus now, because everybody's offering get-rich-quick promises. The biggest thing that made me want to step away from it all was that there's no commitment to understanding, and everybody just wants to do their own thing. And it goes back to what I said earlier about reading the pamphlet, reading the manual. Yes, you can use it to get out there, but, like, here's the crazy part. Like, and this is why at the end of the day, the Denzel method's still better than the social media method, or the Danny method, because they make impacting relationships with people that are critical to their place in the industry.
Absolutely.
All right. And then they're also
Real
very
quick
well
question.
aware
Okay,
of their
good.
position. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, real quick question, Kawika. Do you think that for an actor or an actress, instead of doing all of these TikToks, sort of like dance challenges, like whatever, would their time be better spent maybe doing snippets of monologues of a character that they've created themselves over time, or
It depends on
really
what they
sort
want
of
to
like
sell.
showcasing it?
It depends on what they want to
Yeah.
sell. So, like, say, case in point, you want to be an action star, I'd focus on your stunt work.
Maybe you can mix it
I
up
wouldn't.
or
I
something.
would not
Right.
even worry about like you saying a line. I would just worry about your stunt stuff. I mean, if
Put
you
together an incredible 3-minute stunt scene,
Yeah.
breakaway glass, smashing
exactly.
people,
Well,
doing
and I
crazy
think
shit.
the thing is like
that would
what
do more. That would do more, right?
Well, and so here's the other thing is that you want to be an actor, create your content to sell yourself as an actor. Don't go out and do the silly dance videos because that's an influencer. If you want to occasionally influence and be a meme lord or a shit poster or a reposter, that's fine. Personally, my page, when it's in its downtime, just to keep everybody busy, I have a firm like maintaining grasp of like shit posting memes that I know my audience will like just to keep them engaged. But realistically, I only save those for times where I'm taking a break and I don't have enough time to focus on like just me as a brand because like I'm focusing on the podcast or I'm helping Sarah out or I'm like, you know, trying to get a movie going. And so what I think that people really need to take a step back and look at, okay, so I'm an actor and I'm trying to sell myself as an actor on social media. Well, the biggest way to show you're the GOAT is to do things people can't do. So if you're going out and doing every dance challenge, you're doing what everybody else is already doing. That, and I'm not really a huge fan of TikTok. I think it's a pretty big waste of air, especially out of the fact that like black creators made a huge community out of it, and then white America's privilege stole it from them. Like it's seriously white appropriation of black TikTok. It's got to be the most.
To make a metaverse.
Yeah. Look at Chad Hudson. Look at Chad Huddy. All right, his whole Black King fucking routine, all that bullshit that he did for Burger King, like that guy is only famous because he watched enough black TikTok and he went, I can impersonate this. But
yep, indeed, bro.
But I think that there's a lot more that could be covered this. I'd love to actually talk more about what we could do for actors, with actors, you know, how to talk about presence online. I think that's a subject to cover regularly. I think that there's way too much in keeping up with the Joneses, and people don't realize that you're your own brand. So what's working for someone to get 6 million views may not be what works for you to get 6 million views. So focus on your craft. And now more than ever, brands do not care about the number of followers you have. Like a real brand knows what your conversion value is. A real brand knows that when they look at you and they go, oh, Sarah may only have this many followers, but guess what happens when Sarah posts? All those followers do something. Whereas how many kids have 20,000 followers and it may be getting them casted, but is it paying their bills in the in-between? I
would like to make a live proposal on this podcast. I think that one, because you're hitting every single point, Kawika, and I think the problem is that actors and actresses don't understand the marketplace and they don't understand initially how to position themselves as artists. So I think it opens up a great conversation for you to have to any of the freelance artists or, whether you're a singer or whether you're an actor or an actress, to reach out to this guy through whatever vehicle he makes. And dude, you should help people figure that out and be a consulting service for that, because that is, I think, you'd be serving the community, you'd be serving your listeners. I know you got a lot of creative types out there. I'm not trying to push you into anything. No. I think
personally,
you are so. You could really, really slam dunk that kind of a thing.
Well, and I think
are like slowly doing that. Like you're kind of taking slowly,
Yeah. Well, and quite frankly, like I think that if I was to do anything like that, it would have to be like a work group mentality. I've really gotten tired of one-on-ones because I hear the same stuff again and again, and that's what disenfranchises me from it and makes it easy for me to slip away from a client sometimes, because there's only so many times that you can say things on the first meeting and you get the same bad responses on the first meeting, and then you get the same bad responses on the second meeting, and then you can't really, like, after the third time you bring up the way you want to do something and they don't want to do it, they're the only way to get around that is monkey see, monkey do. It goes back to one of the most important statistics.
And one of the other things I will say to get around that is you need to have some kind of a qualifier. You know, before you meet with somebody, you take them on as a client, you're like, hey, look.
Oh, no, that's a waste of my time and their time. I got to tell you this, it's the keeping up with the Joneses factor to push them to do it.
Make it worth your time.
Yeah.
Make it worth your time. You know, charge a real rate for it. I'm not talking about sort of like taking people who are just like right out of school, but like, you know, people who have been in the industry, maybe like did like one movie and they're just like, wow, you know, I'm not getting called and I don't know, you know, what is this? You know, what am I missing out?
That would have to be a group workshop.
Yeah, just put that up. Oh, yeah.
It would be better as a group workshop. Quite frankly, like one-on-ones, unless it's someone that's extremely open-minded. Like, case in point, Sarah. Sarah only had to see, like, 2 weeks of just, like, hey, like, this is what it does. This is how it do. And then she got it. Like, she's still trying to onboard herself to certain other things. But I feel that, like, a lot of it just comes from the fact of, like, you have to sit there, you have to engage with the numbers, you have to take the time with it. Realistically, if I was to do something like that, I mean, it has to be a group project. Because monkey see, monkey do does far better than keeping up with the Joneses. That's proved in every major advertising statistic.
Sure, but one of, and Sarah, let me hear from you on this. One of the most maddening things for artists like yourself is you just don't have any direction, and you're just out there by yourself. Yeah. Now you have an agent. Well, big deal. You know, how do I utilize that agent? Right? Am I wrong? Am I wrong enough?
A misconception of an agent and a manager. An agent, they're just going to submit you. Like, they're not really holding.
Thank you.
They're a middleman. You can represent yourself now. They're an unnecessary part of the industry, just like a distro agent. There are two people right now that I would cut out of the industry immediately to save our economy, and that's the distribution agent or the aggregator and the agent. A manager can stick around because they have useful value, but in a lot of cases, an agent is just some guy who walks a paper to the other side of the room or sends a fax and then gets 10% for it, especially in the digital age of casting.
Yeah, Sarah, I'm sure you've had to like deal with so many situations like that.
Well, I mean, for me, like, I started when I was 16 years old. I quit school, and I was literally like, I'm going to be an actress, got a full-time job, and I just started going to auditions. And I literally, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I got an agent, and I thought, that's it. I made it. I got myself an agent. I didn't get booked not one time, not a single time. I didn't know what to do. And I actually, as a young actress, I got myself in really like situations that I should not have been in because I didn't have anybody watching me, directing me, saying, you know what, don't go here. That's not a credible, production company, or this is not a good ad to go to. So it's a very scary place, I think, especially for younger artists, because they just don't know where to go. And there's so much, there's a lot of bad situations that you can get in this industry.
Oh, yes, you got it.
Especially as a young woman and being taken advantage of and put in vulnerable situations. So now, like, that I've lived through it, like, I have a little bit more direction, but I'm still kind of just like, let's see if this works. Let's see if I do this and I land a role. And just now I'm starting to realize it really is a networking game. And it really is all about your connections and nurturing those connections when you can, and working with people, that have solid integrity, and trying to continue to work with them. Yeah.
100%.
But in there, I think that's the hardest part, is just finding your people, finding people like you guys. Like, it took me forever. I've been on Maui for a very, very long time, and I'm just now finding people that are like-minded like me. But before, I was like, is there any other actors even on Maui? I don't even think anybody does film on Maui.
Well, once people find their cliques, they keep them private. And then even if their cliques are toxic, they want to maintain them, because then if anybody leaves them, then they don't have anybody left. And so we've kind of gotten to this era of where where the best parts of capitalism have left the business of filmmaking and networking, and the lazier parts of just closing off communities, like this internal nationalism of production companies that just like, oh, these are my guys and we only do and it's like, that's cute when it's like a Kevin Smith movie to be like, hey, my guys, we're gonna make a movie, but then it's a whole nother thing when like you slave drive them for like years on end. So like, and then there's just this insulated echo chamber. And I think that's why like for a while you didn't run into people, because like how many people want to invite you into something that's that crazy? Do you really want it? No, probably don't, you know, but then at the same time.
I mean, you're 100%. You're 100%. The thing that I will say, having moved here from New York, from Chicago, from Spain, from, you know, all these different sort of like major different markets, is that the networking sort of menagerie and sort of what's there is completely different here on island than it is in any of those places that I just mentioned. For instance, I used to be, I still am a photographer. When I was in New York, you could go to any bar in New York and sit there and order a beer and sit there and hem and haw about what a-holes the people at Vogue are. And there'll be 7 people at a bar, and then you all start talking. You can throw a rock and, you know, you can hit a photographer in a larger market, but here it's a little different. You know, there are little pockets and people do sort of like what it is that they can do. And I think we would have to sort of, you know, we'll probably know more at the end of next year after we sort of like complete kind of like that big sort of like casting thing that we have going on. I think people really get introduced to acting, if they're not kids, through school, or, you know, they're messing around with like other friends, kind of like making videos and stuff like that. But I mean, you know, Sarah, you come from, you've studied, you've come from Chicago, you've around and worked on different things before you got here. But I'm really interested in, and I think I know we have a very small-ish community here, but I'm really excited to try to, you know, with what Kawika has sort of like put in motion, and Sarah, I mean, like you've been involved, obviously, long time coming on all these different projects that are happening. I mean, I'm really hungry and I'm interested in seeing new talent that we can actually find and really help move to like either like the next level, you know, with us and or, you know, sort of like outside of like what it is that we're all doing.
Couldn't have said it better, sir. Couldn't have said it better. And I think on that note, like, we're definitely going to have to call you back. We're going to have to talk about this more often. We're definitely going to have to rap about like all these ancillary things that we're going to have to introduce to the community and help build this. It's definitely going to have to be a mission of part of this podcast and the production company. Thank you, Brad, for just everything you've shared with us today. You just changed the episode by showing up today, man. Appreciate it. Love you, brother.
You got it, man. Anytime. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. So with that being said, we'd like to thank you for joining us this Sunday for another amazing episode. Sarah, before we go, anything to say to everyone?
No, just thanks again for tuning in, and we have a really great episode scheduled for next week for you guys.
Yeah. Once again, Brad Starks, everyone, Sarah Rodriguez, and this is Kawika Hoke saying aloha.
Bye.
Aloha.
Rabbit Holes is a Manavakal production. This episode was produced by Kawika Hoke and Sarah Rodriguez. Make sure to subscribe and follow on your favorite podcast platforms to add our weekly episodes to your queue.